Okay.
And one of the things that we're going to do today is we're going to simplify cooking in the kitchen with Karina LaMalfa. And so you may want to take your pens and your papers and get your imagination, because we're going to create. So fasten your seatbelt, because it's time to grow. So it's time to dance, Karina. Now we can see you dance. There you go. Look at you dance, girl. There we go. Let me get my phone. I'm glad we're going to do the mac and cashew cheese. Do you soak your nuts?
I do.
I know that sounds personal, doesn't it? I hope we're not on the air. I always soak my nuts. The music is so soft in the background, so nice. So all of you who are viewing, you can't talk about this stuff on the air.
The place you can always turn to when you need a friend. The Lillian McDermott Show. To reach out to Lillian, visit her on the web at whenyouneedafriend.com. Now let's all learn together. Here's Lillian McDermott.
Hello, my listening friend. It's so nice we can meet each other on the air on this beautiful, best day ever. And for those of you who are new to the Lillian McDermott radio show, the purpose of the show is to provide a safe place where you can go to when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide alternative ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening and my viewing friends, will feel empowered to embrace a new truth and live the life of your dreams. Now today, OMG, we're going to have fun in the kitchen. So clang those pots, do a little dance, and what's that? Do a little dance, make a little love. Get down tonight. Okay, we're gonna get down in the kitchen with what? With what you say? With 6 ingredients or less. That is the commitment today. If you think that cooking in the kitchen or healthy cooking in the kitchen is complicated, think again, because we have health and wellness coach, Ethos Health, health and wellness coach, Karina LaMalfa. She is back. As you know, at the beginning of the year, we started a new year, new truth, new you. But this girl is on fire because she is getting her life at an even higher level of education. She is also increasing her credentials. She is learning new recipes. And so today, Karina LaMalfa is back. But I challenged her, like I did last time she was on. I said, I want whole food, plant-based desserts. And she not only did it, she went beyond it, and it was out of this world. Today, I said, Karina, we have to create something simple in the kitchen. We want to, after we watch these documentaries like Forks Over Knives and Eating You Alive, now what? How complicated is it? Not that much. We make a big deal out of it. And since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I am so grateful that Karina LaMalfa is back to do just that. Welcome, Karina, to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show.
Thank you, Lily. Always a pleasure to see you.
I know, and to get to dance with you off the air, too. This is really a fun thing. And I hope for those of you who are listening and viewing that you're dancing along with us, because it is so important to move. Yes, food is good, but there are other aspects. If you do one thing in life, then you might not be successful. We have to incorporate a lot of different things. And so the kitchen, Karina, is where the thing starts, where our mentality, our nutrition, maybe the grocery store, but this is where we put all the stuff together. So share a little bit about your background, Karina, and what you've been doing to expand your knowledge and your education.
Well, thanks, Lily. I started as a corporate trainer. I moved into marketing, and my interests were always in food and nutrition and healing through foods. and herbs. And pretty soon my hobby became my life when I switched over to Whole Foods, and I was a healthy eating specialist for several years when the wellness clubs were getting created.
Mm-hmm.
So I was there, and I'm so blessed to be there at the right time because I got such critical information and training from the people that you talked to, Dr. Esselstyn, Dr. Furman, Jeff Novick came in, a wonderful registered dietitian, plant-based, a lot of great chefs. And it really showed me that, that this is an area that people are interested in, and it's really critical. It's critical in our lives right now as we make our lives resonate, as you said, at the highest level possible, bringing in clean foods and supporting our bodies and looking at what other cultures are doing for longevity. It's really key.
You know, and along with that, I want to add there, yes, nutrition is important. But our thoughts, the way we process stress, the way we sleep at night, all these things play a key role in our life. Nutrition, though, puts us at that next level. It puts us at that, okay, here I am, I'm doing all the, I hear people say, well, I eat well, now what? Well, it's more than just eating well. It's what Dr. Joel Fuhrman says is nutritional excellence. And what does that look like? So, Karina, you have some recipes. You accepted my challenge.
I did.
Yes. And so one of the first things we're going to talk about is I said, bring it out. And you ran upstairs and you said, okay, I'm bringing it. What is that?
That is your very favorite cashew cheese sauce.
Yes, but
and 6 ingredients and less. And that is something that can be poured over broccoli or cauliflower or a brown rice noodle or quinoa or brown rice or any vegetable. And it's very versatile.
Yes, and it tastes very similar to macaroni and cheese.
I think it does.
It does. And so for those of you who say, I can't give up this or I can't give up that, let's see if we can entice you, seduce you into saying, I'll consider it. And we're going to continue our conversation with Karina LaMalfa when we return worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you. Okay, so little Miss Karina got this this cheesy sauce that is to live for. So we're going to share that on the air. But as you shared a little bit about when you started and what placed you there. But prior to your hobby starting, what was your health like?
Well, I remember when I was raising my boys, I had been a vegetarian for a lot of years, but I wasn't sure if I would, how much of that they would accept. So there were always lots of vegetables and lots of fruit in the house, but we were eating a pretty standard American diet. And I remember going to an internist and saying, my energy is really low. I'm tired all the time. And now I'm having dizzy spells. My color's not good. And he said, I think you need to exercise. And I said, I don't feel like I have the energy to exercise. And I realized that I was asking the right questions. I just didn't know where to find the answer. So somewhere around 2003, 2004, some friends of mine and we all started focusing in on Dr. Fuhrman. And we took the leap and we cleaned up the households and the kitchen. And, I stopped getting sinus infections. I stopped having knee pain. And it just changed everything. My energy went right through the roof. And with every small change, I've seen a huge increase in energy.
Isn't that true, though? Small change.
With each small change. So if first you add in a big green salad, and then the next week you add in steamed vegetables, and then the next week you take a look at your sleep hygiene, which is that fancy word for, how well we sleep or how deeply and how many hours we give it. And that's huge.
Yeah.
And then eventually you have enough energy to handle your life and you look at how you're handling stress. So I've brought in a lot of yoga, some Pilates, but meditation this past year, I really focused on.
Very good. Very good. There's so many different, that's small step.
Yes.
Don't start at the top of the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going hiking, the first thing you do is research what kind of boots you're going to wear for
That's
the
right.
hike.
Good
That's what I
job.
did. I even wrote about it.
Did you?
Here we go. Welcome back to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show, where we always learn from one another. Today's teacher is Karina LaMalfa. We started this year. We said, okay, we're going to do a new year, a new truth, and a new you. So today we're going to continue that series. And for those of you who think that healthy eating is complicated, think again. We're going to say that there's a lot of recipes that require a lot. If you look at a box, there's a lot of ingredients in a box. And so today we're going to do whole food, plant-based, 6 ingredients or less. And we're going to start with this mac and cheese sauce that people can use. Instead of putting it on macaroni, you could put it on your veggies. You can take your zucchini and put it in I'm going to say this, veggetti. The veggetti is like a giant pencil sharpener for your zucchini. And when you put it in there, it comes out looking like a noodle. And so that is a raw noodle. So if you take it, instead of using the pasta, you put it on a raw zucchini noodle that looks like spaghetti. But now, what are we going to add instead of the processed cheese on that wonderful zucchini?
We are going to create a cheesy-like sauce that after you've had it 1 or 2 times, you'll actually crave this cleaner version of a cheese sauce, because you'll notice that it doesn't impede your sleep and it doesn't give you a burning stomach afterwards, and your energy is high, but you're still getting that taste that you crave.
So what are the ingredients that we need to get?
I start with 1 cup of raw cashews. And I soak them in warm water for about, half an hour for sure. And if
Really?
you can,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
if you can do a little longer, that's good as well. You can just,
I soak my cashews for about 6 hours.
oh, very nice.
Yeah, and then I rinse them off and I dehydrate them. But for this, you don't need to, because it's going to go into a sauce.
Yeah,
right?
but the rinsing step is important too.
Yes. Okay. So 1 cup of cashews. Soak cashews.
Right. Cover them and then make the water go a little bit higher, because they're going to swell. So you'd have to keep adding water all day. So if it's the kind of thing that you want to put on the counter and just walk away, then cover it with like an extra inch of water.
Okay.
So then we're going to rinse those cashews and put them into, I use a Vitamix. It gets things very creamy. I know people have done a good job in a Ninja or any other high-speed blender.
Yeah.
So now this recipe is super easy, because we're just going to load everything else right into that blender.
Yes.
So 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast. I usually have Red Star. I'm about to purchase online one that doesn't have folic acid in it. That would be the safest.
Okay.
So if you can find a nutritional yeast with no folic acid, that would be great. You throw in 1 clove of garlic peeled. Squeeze in the juice of half of a lemon. So every lemon is different. So let's say that's a tablespoon of lemon juice.
Okay.
And then I like to put in a teaspoon of miso, and that's going to be giving us not only a fermented salty flavor, but it helps with the cheese flavor, the cheesy flavor, and it also adds just picks it up a little bit with a little bit of salt. Now, black pepper optional. Sprinkle of black pepper if you want. And then usually about 5 tablespoons of water.
Okay.
And that's a conservative estimate. When you're working with plant foods, their level of moisture changes like day to day. So if you want to start with 3 tablespoons of water and get that blended, then you want it to be creamier, add 2 more. If it's still not the consistency that you want, feel free to add another tablespoon or 2, but go slowly.
Yeah, you can always add more. You can't always take out. And when you go over that, so this particular one, you blend it until you get the consistency. And what I love about cooking raw foods, or preparing, because you don't cook it, you prepare it. What I love about it is that you can, if let's say you add something else to it, now it's a different recipe.
True.
You can never, ever ruin this kind of recipe. So you can always enhance it, or you can change it a bit. You can add different spices if you like it a little spicier, or what. This could be like a dip, you know?
It's an amazing dip. It's an amazing dip with carrot sticks or zucchini spears, cauliflower, broccoli raw. It's wonderful. So yeah, you bring up such a good point. What if you had roasted red peppers in the house, and you decided that you wanted to add some of those to this? You could add a quarter cup to a half a cup. You could go in with the spices, as you mentioned. You could add cumin, coriander. That would be lovely.
You can add cannellini beans and give it even more of like a hummus kind of feel to it.
Absolutely.
So you taste it.
If you were adding the beans, I would cut the cashews to half.
Okay.
So if you want, so put in a cup of beans perhaps, and then bring down the cashew, because you won't really need it unless you want it to be super creamy.
So let me ask you about the cashews here. Like if I wanted to do a cannellini cheese sauce, would I be able to do that?
Absolutely.
Because I am that powerful. I can do whatever I want.
You said it, and it's coming. So maybe 3/4 of a cup of cannellini, 1/4 cup of soaked cashews, or half and half. So many choices. That would be delicious.
Yeah. And so we can create in the kitchen. And what's so exciting about it is that you are doing something different. You're taking a comfort food and you're making it healthy. So now you can have it as many times as you want. So you may want to add or subtract depending on how much you're doing. Now, how long does this last in the refrigerator once you blend it, and you can use it throughout the week for, let's say you wanted to batch cook it? How long does it last?
I would say no more than 5 days. Probably quality issues around 4. It might start separating a little bit, give it a stir, and then go ahead and keep it. It's hard to keep this in the house.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's say 5 days.
So if you want that cheesier taste, we can add more nutritional yeast.
Yes.
Now, trust me, when you smell nutritional yeast, you're going to go, how can this taste this way? But when you blend all the ingredients, they kind of go, hello, let's work this way. And they come and they become a neighborhood where they are all cohesive and they all work together, and it tastes so good. Okay, so I wanted to start with the cheesy sauce, because who doesn't love cheese? Yes. I don't eat cheese because I'm allergic to dairy, but I remember loving cheese. So you can add spices. Like if you want to make it more taste like a spicier whatever, just make it whatever your taste is. Okay, so
I want a pinch of cayenne pepper.
Yeah.
A little bit of chili powder.
Yeah. And have fun. Okay. So you have other things that we can do. I said I was going to talk about my morning breakfast, but I think I'm going to talk about my morning breakfast off the air, because I want you to share what the next recipe is.
Okay. So the very first recipe that I ever cooked for the Ethos patients, the ones who join us for the full year of mindful living on the farm in Long Valley, was the carrot ginger soup. And it is exquisite, and it is extremely easy. So I had 30 people in a room, and I had a pot on an induction burner. So I wasn't even in a kitchen. That's how simple this recipe is.
Okay.
So for your home kitchen, it's going to be even easier. So take a pot and warm a stock pot or a soup pot over medium heat, and throw in 1 medium onion diced. Mm-hmm. We're going to blend the whole thing. So your cutting doesn't even have to. You don't have to spend a lot of time making it pretty. So 6 cups of carrots go in next, and I like to chop those roughly all about the same size if you can, in a 1/2-inch dice. Okay. Now, substitutions. Could this be sweet potato? You bet. Could this be butternut squash? Absolutely. But we're going to talk about carrot today.
Okay.
So I cover that with 4 cups of water or a low-sodium vegetable broth. And then into that, I grate 1 to 2 tablespoons of a fresh raw ginger root. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to put that on simmer Once it comes up to a boil, add a half a cup of cashews. Any nut will do. Walnut is nice. Almonds are great. Cashews become creamy so easily. If you have a household that can't do nuts, I would do a little bit of coconut milk, probably.
Okay.
And you could do that.
Okay.
And then as you're wrapping it up, you're going to throw in a tablespoon of really good quality curry powder. I really love Simply Organic. It's got an unbelievable curry powder, but I have been known to mix my own. But that one's right off the shelf. You're going to just let it simmer till it's all soft. And then if you have a stick blender or an immersion blender, you just cool it down a little bit, blend it all up. If you want to use your regular blender, let it cool a little bit because steam is sometimes a problem.
Oh, yeah. Explosions do happen in the kitchen.
Put a towel over the top of your blender.
Been there, done that.
Yep. And you can blend it in batches. This is another one great to keep for 5 or 6 days in the refrigerator. Incredibly filling. You may need to add more water as the week goes on because as you work with whole foods, they all have pectin. So they start to get thicker as they sit in your refrigerator. So as you go day by day, just keep adding water or broth. It's a great soup.
You know, interesting. This, you say yields 6, but would you be able to do this like a batch cooking where you make it for not only that day, but you make it for the future? Can you freeze this, Karina?
Yes, this soup freezes beautifully.
Okay.
This soup definitely freezes beautifully.
Now, when I was looking at the recipe, you talk about sautéing the onions. Can you, and can you talk about dry sauté or a sauté with a broth as opposed to oil?
Sure. So I usually do a water saute. So into the pot go the onions into a warm or a pot heated to medium. And then, saute means to jump. So you just want to take your spoon and start stirring it up. And when it starts to stick or just before it browns, that's when I add in about a 1/4 cup of water or of the broth that we'd be using in a recipe. Okay. And then I stir it some more, and then you can even walk away for a few minutes and let it soften. Every onion is different, so they all need a different length of time. So you're just going to look for the result that you want. Sometimes I want to really make it soft and develop the flavor, and that's where we're developing the flavor in the onion. And then the garlic goes in next, maybe a little more water that needs less time. And I would mince the garlic if you were going to do a good water sauté like that.
Yes. And so when you're talking about these recipes, because we didn't add any salt to it, originally you had talked about adding miso that gives it a saltier taste. But could we add celery to this recipe to give it that salty feeling?
You're right. So celery, spinach, beet greens, they all add a good amount of salt to a recipe. So you certainly could. I would maybe add spinach or beet greens, or celery will change the flavor up front, but it will still be very nice.
Okay.
It will taste more like a vegetable soup, I think.
And then you serve it, and you can garnish with cilantro is what you have, or parsley, right?
Yes. Yes. And it's really filling and delicious and creamy.
And healthy.
Very healthy.
Healthy. I think I'm going to make this today. Although I don't think I have carrots in my refrigerator. But we're going to continue our conversation with Karina LaMalfa when we return. 6 ingredients or less. Whole food, plant-based, delicious recipes. I hope you're taking lots of notes, but we will post this later on. And we're going to continue our conversation. We'll be right here waiting for you. Worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. Okay, Karina, that was good. I was looking at your recipe and I thought, saute. So we could saute it, or we can just do it raw.
Yeah.
We just boil it raw. You know what I did? I had been saving some like ends, and I've been doing like whenever there's like stuff that I just don't want, I put it in the freezer. I stick it in the freezer. And then just recently I made my own broth for the first time. Isn't
it something?
Yes.
It's easy, and you can control.
My vegetable broth, yeah. Yes,
a vegetable broth. I do the same thing. I usually keep a container in the freezer, and I'll put in the parts that I'm not using.
Or that are about to go bad because you're not using them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so you can make a stock one way just from scraps. and things that need to move along, as you said. And you can also just have a stock day and make a nice vegetable stock, and use really good ingredients.
Yes.
Use really fresh herbs and a couple of onions and a couple of carrots and a parsnip or turnip.
Yeah. And I
So
just threw
two different schools and of thought about broth, and they're both fine.
Yeah. And I just threw it in the pot. And it just sat there for a whole day. After it started boiling, I just let it sit there. And then what I did was, interestingly enough, I took and I blended. I separated the broth from the actual vegetables, and I took the vegetables and I pureed the vegetables.
Wonderful.
And I just recently added it to. Have you tried Dr. Joel Fuhrman's chickpea curry in a hurry?
No.
Oh,
Is
my
it
goodness.
good?
It is very good.
All right, I'm writing it down.
And I take his base. I take his chickpea curry in a hurry. I have to cover Dr. Joel Fuhrman's ears when I say this, but I take his recipe and I use it as a base. But I add, and this time I added the puree of vegetables to it.
Ooh.
Oh my goodness. And I added tomatoes to it. I added so many different recipes to it. I mean, ingredients to it. And it completely changed the taste. And that's what I'm talking about. I mean, did you ever, when you first started preparing foods this way, Karina, did you feel, oh my God, I don't know what to do, or I'm going to mess this up? Did you feel that way at all?
I did. Absolutely. I mean, learning how to water saute, I still remember it was I thought it was so awkward, and, do I brown it? Do I not brown it? And some plant-based chefs will brown, but, here on the farm, we try to not have things brown too much. So we use more steaming, making soups, light baking. We don't really brown things, and that's a whole other show. So I wasn't sure where to start or how to do it, and I thought everything would taste kind of flat. I wasn't sure how to develop the flavors. It took a while, and that's why something like Dr. Fuhrman's chickpea in a hurry, where you have a recipe like that. What I find helps people is if they find one that they really like.
Base. It's a base.
Yes,
it's all about the base.
Like make it like once a week. Like make that your Monday dish or something, and then find a Tuesday dish, and then find a Wednesday dish, and then find a place to go out to eat on Thursday. Even if it's just a whole food salad bar, because it's just mind-boggling as a beginner. You're changing everything. And I know we're wrapping up, but I'm getting credentialed in June, and one of the areas that I'm delving into very deeply is how the mind allows us to change it. How do we change? So what short-term change versus long-term change, and what kinds of steps actually have to take place to help someone move from one stage of change to the next.
I love it.
And this is what we're talking about. We're talking about how do you go from one way of living for however many years to a brand new way of living, and it's scary.
But we can take that scary and call it exciting.
It is exciting.
Exactly. When I first started preparing foods, raw, vegan, because that's what I was challenged to do. And I remember it was the worst 2 weeks of my husband's life. He lost 10 pounds. And he didn't need that.
Once again,
here we go. Welcome back to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show, where we always learn from each other. Today's teacher is Karina LaMalfa. She is a health and wellness coach working on credentialing. Pretty soon she's going to be, you already have a master's degree, but you're going beyond that. You don't have to have a master's degree to do creative things in the kitchen, but you do if you want to train and teach, and all the things that started as a hobby, just like the radio, is now a passion, just like the radio, and sharing this new truth. And so I want to encourage all of you to go to whenyouneedafriend.com so that you can continue this conversation. It is off the air. Karina and I were talking about how scary this could be, but it's all about the mind. And she's diving into that a little bit more in her studies, but it's all about the mind and reformatting. Instead of saying it's scary or overwhelming. How about exciting and new or different? That takes away the burden of the heaviness of what the adventure is all about. So I want us to look at, if we want to change our lifestyle because we want to embrace health, we want to release diabetes. We want to release heart disease. We want to release high blood pressure, pain. I know that every time I have a little bit of animal products, my feet hurt. My knees hurt. And so that tells me my body is just so conditioned now to eat so healthy that when I do eat something that's not healthy, my body goes, what are you doing to yourself? And I want, as well as I want this for you, to live well into your hundreds, healthy. And maybe the last year, that's the day where you start winding down and you start saying your goodbyes. But it's up to that point, it's healthy. And so the way we can do it is to reformat, to replay. I don't know if you remember the tape recorder and how we would have that tape recorder and we would tape over and over and over. What's the latest song? We'd run to the radio, we'd tape over it, and then we'd find another song, we'd run to the radio, we'd tape over it. Things are like that now. You don't need to do that for electronics anymore.
Right.
But we can do that with our mind. We can do that with our thoughts. It's time to change. It's a new year. It's a new truth, and it's a new you. And so that's what Karina and I are talking about today. I want to encourage you to go to whenyouneedafriend.com. When you become a subscriber, you get that 90-day challenge to self-love ebook, which is so important. This is how you love yourself. We love to love people with foods. But if you think about it, you're hurting people with foods if you're keeping the standard American diet, if you're eating heavy meats, if you're eating a lot of processed foods. So let's change this together. And then I want you to make sure that when you go on to whenyouneedafriend.com, that you check out my sponsors, because without them, the show would not happen. My favorites, the people that have supported the show, that believe in the show. Make sure you check them out and support them the way that they're supporting the show. You can follow me on Instagram, all social medias, Facebook. Also, you can click on YouTube, because we've had some incredible conversations off the air that we cannot have on the air. So if you want to, while you're driving or you're jogging or you want motivation, go to the YouTube page, and then when you subscribe there, the YouTube video gets sent to you and you can watch it whenever you want. So Karina, I am so grateful to you for everything that you do to further your education so that you can teach us better ways for us to be at that nutritional excellence, mind, body, spirit. So thank you so much for coming on today.
Oh, it's always a pleasure, Lillian. And this is a delicious day, too, as we're talking about finding the foods that for some people, they just want to find a few things that they feel they couldn't possibly live without.
Yes.
And
yes.
I'd love to talk about my next recipe, which is, that's the reasoning behind why I created the falafel. As I said, falafel is one of my favorite food. It's made with chickpeas and parsley and garlic and spices. So it's so healthy, and then it gets fried. So what can I do to just change that step, to still get all that flavor, all the protein in the chickpeas, and all those phytonutrients in the parsley, and the wonderful flavor and health benefits of the cumin and the spices and the garlic and the onion? So I came up with a ground chickpea recipe. So I don't use chickpea flour. Most falafel relies on a dried chickpea ground into a flour. So to make it super easy, we're just using canned.
Really?
Canned chickpeas, rinsed and drained. And if you love to make your own chickpeas, you can do that as well. You can get them dry and then soak them overnight and then boil them for an hour.
And it's so cheap. Anyone who says that this is the cheapest way to get your proteins, your fiber. So keep going.
It's absolutely true. And you can make a whole bunch and freeze some, so it's ready for you when you come home from work. Or you can keep a couple of cans in the house. I recommend both.
Okay.
So this is easy. This is a food processor meal. So if you have a food processor or any kind of a chopper, in small batches you can put it in, or in mine I can fit it all. So 2 cans of rinsed chickpeas, 3 cloves of garlic, 1 diced medium onion. And now let's make it taste good. So we're going to add 4 teaspoons of ground cumin. Cumin has amazing benefits for your stomach. So while you're moving away from oils and fried foods and you're stepping away from all the related stomach issues like GERD and acid and all the things that maybe one of your listeners had to try to treat with something over the counter like an antacid, you won't need that now eating this way, most likely. And cumin is a big key to that too. So I put in then a tablespoon of a mild yellow miso. You can get that in any health-related store and sometimes regular stores. I know you have Publix down there, right? So we don't have.
Yeah, but we also have Native Sun and Sunseed Co-op. We have all the local as well.
Go there because you'll be able to get everything in one shop, and that makes it easy. So then I needed a binder, so I added a tablespoon of arrowroot powder. Native Sun will have that too. 1 cup rough chopped parsley. If you can make it organic, I would. So that's a help. And then a little optional black pepper. So you're going to pulse and add a little bit of water until it looks like cookie dough.
Cookie dough. But I want to ask about the arrowroot. What is arrowroot?
So it's a root, and I rarely use
a little arrow.
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice? It looks, it looks like cornstarch. So rarely do I use any kind of a thickener. I would like to try, maybe like a flaxseed egg, 1 tablespoon of flax meal or chia ground.
Can we use that instead?
I think you could.
Instead of the arrowroot?
Yes, you could.
Okay.
I'm sure you could. And these are going to bake. This is just how I made it last time. And you can see I haven't made it in a while because normally I don't use any powders like that. But a little bit like that will be fine.
Okay.
And then I take usually a small ice cream scoop, or if you have like a little hamburger scoop maker, anything that it can make a consistent size. So you want to make it into a ball, about the size of a golf ball.
Okay.
And then you have a choice. You can bake it like that, or you can press it down and make it flat like a cookie. And then you're just going to put that in the oven, 400 degrees for about 25 minutes. Flip them if you flattened them, and then cook another 20 minutes more.
Now I have a baking sheet that is has the holes in them. It's
nice.
If it's something like that you can aerate underneath it and it doesn't have like that flat sheet, would you be able to just maybe use a conventional mode where it's just like rotating the air in the oven?
Yes. So when you use a convection with the rotating, the blowing, it'll cook a little faster. So at the 20-25 minute mark, definitely check them. But that's a great idea. That's a great idea.
Okay. You also have a sauce.
I do.
And let's talk about this sauce.
Okay. So usually, these falafel are so good, and I think they get better day after day. And I noticed that my family will just open the refrigerator and grab one and just eat it right out of the refrigerator door with the doors open. And so you might have to double this recipe because, and then the sauce is nice too. So if you're actually sitting down to eat it, I usually put it in a lettuce leaf, make a lettuce cup, and then this. The tzatziki sauce is so simple. So there are some really nice almond milk or cashew yogurts on the market right now.
Really?
Can I say what my favorite one is?
Off the air. So unsweetened?
Off the air.
Unsweetened?
So unsweetened. So it's plain. So it winds up tasting somewhere between sour cream and a yogurt. So then you just take a cucumber and cut it into a really small dice, like a 1/4 inch or 1/8 inch dice. And you could, of course, add more. You could add cilantro, you could add parsley, but honestly, the cucumber just infuses that yogurt with flavor, and you can use this as a little drizzle.
Unbelievable. You know what? I love falafel, but I stopped eating falafel because it's fried.
Yes.
And so just recently we had Kaboom Kebabs go to our Heel Tribe in Jacksonville, and he baked his falafel without any oil. It
Wow.
was to live for. And
Oh,
we're going to continue our conversation with Karina LaMalfa when we return worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you. Karina, this is a recipe I want to try. I have some questions though. When we do the arrowroot, instead of doing the arrowroot,
hmm
what would be considered like you talked about a chia, not a chia egg, but you called it a flaxseed egg.
flax egg.
Okay,
Yep.
let's talk about the flaxseed egg. It's
Great.
like 1 tablespoon of flaxseed ground and then
Yes.
water.
2 tablespoons of water. So you take your tablespoon measurer, couldn't be any easier. Take a little cup, 1 tablespoon of ground flaxseed, and then 2 tablespoons of water. You give it a little stir and you set it aside for 5 to 10 minutes. And it
Karina,
puffs up.
I know the first time I did that, I didn't know you can make like chia flaxseed egg. I knew that that happens with the chia, but I did not know that it happened until I saw it. I was making a vegan pizza crust or pizza
Mm.
dough, and instead of putting
Wow.
the egg, I used the chia because it recommended for you to use the chia
Mm.
or the flaxseed. I'm sorry. And so I thought, well, let me try that. And so I put it off to the side, and lo and behold, it had the consistency of a whipped egg.
Excellent.
I was shocked.
Excellent. Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. I used it last week in a brownie, and I was just stunned. It's just perfect. It's perfect.
And it's healthy and it fights
Yeah.
cancer. It's cancer fighting.
hmm
And I have a tip for you. I don't know if you know this, but with chia, if you talked about an upset stomach, that when people get an upset stomach, that people use antacids and have you ever had chia? Just chew it on the like the plain chia seed. You
Mm.
chew it and you swallow it. I can do it like I take some chia and I put some water in it and it expands. And then I take that and I chew it and I swallow it the times that I've needed it. And it's a great antacid because it soaks. It soaks, it expands. So that's why it's good to just have it without the expansion of the water. But even when you do it with the water in there, if you don't want to feel all those seeds kind of like bubbling up in your
Yeah.
teeth,
Yeah.
it does relieve the stomach. It really
Hmm.
does.
That's a great tip.
It really is. So if you have any problems with your stomach, that's a really good one.
Yeah.
Now, you have the lemony quinoa salad. How much time do we have, Brian?
Mhm.
See, he's going to give us a time. So this is our last segment, Karina. So let's talk about the quinoa salad.
Okay.
And then I want to share with you, I don't know if I can do it with my breakfast cereal, but my breakfast is frozen spinach, kale, blueberries. All of that is organic and frozen. And then I add moringa and dandelion powder, cinnamon, turmeric, avocado, lentils. Sometimes I add lentils to give it that fiber, or beans. And then I peel some bananas and slice them, have some walnuts, hemp, chia, flax seeds. I put some canned unsweetened milk, coconut milk, and I blend it together. And the combination, again, that neighborhood just gets so tasty. And I put it in a jar after it just thaws out and eat it, and it is delicious.
Oh,
I
that
wanted to
sounds
give that.
delicious.
Have you ever had that where you mix?
I've been doing bowls for the morning and getting away from oats and things like that. But I haven't tried all the things you have in it. I have to do that.
Okay, here we go. This is our last segment. Can you believe it?
5959. Once again, here's Lillian.
And welcome back to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show, where we are learning. Our teacher is Karina LaMalfa. She is a wellness coach. She is a health and wellness coach who is expanding every day we meet with her. She's learning a little bit more so that she can teach a little bit more. And so today we're talking about whole food plant-based recipes with 6 ingredients or less. Where do you find that? Even if you look at a box, of potatoes, like these dried potatoes, and you look at it and you read all the stuff that's on there, there's, first of all, you don't even find potatoes. The next thing is like you have all these chemicals in it, and you think it's potato salad or potato mashed potato, but it's not, right? So if you just take a potato and you mash it, boom, maybe you add a little bit of water, or you add a little bit of coconut, unsweetened coconut, or whatever, soy that's organic as well. Boom, you have a mashed potato. How simple is that, right, Karina?
It's true. You bring up a great point, because when we cook ourselves, we can control the ingredients and we can keep them simple. And that's why I loved this challenge that you gave me to come up with dinners and lunches and breakfasts in 6 ingredients or less.
So you have a lemony quinoa salad. Let's talk about that one.
I do. So if you've never made quinoa before, the mistake that I made was I didn't rinse my quinoa the very first time I made it. So you have these little dry seeds, and they must be rinsed because there's a little bit of a covering on them that needs to just melt off and wash away.
Okay.
So you're going to take 2 cups of water and 1 cup of rinsed quinoa and put it in a pot with a tight fitting lid, or however you make your rice and grains, and just bring that to a boil, and then lower the heat to a simmer and give that about 15 minutes. Turn it off from the heat, fluff it with a fork, and let it rest.
Yes.
And then everything else is raw. So we're adding all the vegetables that you like. We're going to dice an onion. You can chop up some raw broccoli. I like to add red or yellow or orange bell pepper. Tomatoes, we're hoping, that you have access to tomatoes that would be raw. And if not, it would change the dish just a little bit, but I bet you could use a canned diced tomato.
Mm-hmm.
And then now a can of your favorite beans, and black beans rinsed work really well in this. So now you've just put that all in the bowl. You've got your cooling quinoa and all your chopped vegetables. Could you add black olives? Sure. Now you can add anything you want, but we're keeping it simple.
That's the base. It's all about the base. Okay.
Yep, that's the base of your bowl. And then we're going to whip up a little dressing.
Yeah.
So once you have a dressing that you like, you can make a big bottle of it and use it all week. So this one features tahini, which is such a lovely, low note flavor profile, and it makes things so creamy. So very often I'll start with tahini, about 1/4 cup, and then 3 or more tablespoons of lemon juice, a teaspoon of miso, 2 soaked dates if you want it a little bit sweeter, but you don't even have to. If you're cooking for people still on the standard American diet, it's nice to add the dates because they're used to sugar and everything. Yeah. And this will give them that little sweet pop without having it be an extracted.
And for people that think, okay, well, dates are sweet, yes, but they also have fiber. They have the actual everything with it that kind of slows down that processing of sugar, the glycemic index. And then some salt and pepper.
But the dates are optional. Then I just put in 3 tablespoons of warm or hot water, a clove of garlic, a pinch of black pepper, and I use a Vitamix or a regular blender if I'm teaching, and you can use anything to blend that up. And so you're just going to drizzle.
This is crack. This is crack. Okay, keep going.
Thank you. It is a very good recipe that I just made up. So you can drizzle this on anything. This is great over chopped kale, shredded Brussels sprouts, anything that you're trying to eat more of. This dressing is your best friend. So now I'll take a large bowl and I'll put all of the chopped raw ingredients and then the quinoa, give it a toss. And I'll drizzle half of this over and then toss it and see to me if it looks like enough. And then if it looks like it needs more, then you put in a little more. So it's really to taste. So those are, we just got 2 recipes in there that'll be very helpful for people.
Yeah. And if you add greens to this, and you can make it a bowl, like a quinoa bowl that now they're really popular if you go to these places where they're offering more than just the chicken or the tofu or whatever. You can add, like, this is a great base that, and you talked about this on off the air, for those of you who want to go to whenyouneedafriend.com, and you can click onto my YouTube channel and these videos will come to you to your emails or your phone, your tablets, whatever it is but Karina, you had mentioned that, that you start with a base. And, every day you start with a base, and then you can add and subtract or whatever it is to make it your taste, right?
Yes, absolutely. And when you think about all these great bowl places and the salad places that are chopping everything for you, it's great on the run, but wouldn't it be nice to take the $12 you'll spend on one bowl and create almost like a little salad bar in your refrigerator to be able to eat all week? So I love the idea of shredded Brussels sprouts, shredded kale, any kind of a lettuce that you like, cabbage. Red cabbage is so healthy. And you could make that in the beginning of the week, and then make this dressing too, and then put your bowls together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this is made to be like an accompaniment to greens. Basically, everything we're talking about is an accompaniment to beans.
That's right. And greens. And beans, yeah. But you know what? You can add like for example, you start with a tahini base, which I call the crack here, the modules, the tahini base. But you can change it. Instead of tahini, you can do cashews, or you can do cannellini beans. You can do, there's so much more that you can do. Think outside the box, and then all of a sudden you're changing not only the taste, but the micro and macronutrients that you're taking in, right?
Yes, absolutely. And because it all has fiber, every single thing that we're talking about has fiber, you're going to find that you get full faster. But you may need to add in a snack, because you get to have a little bonus meal in there, maybe.
Yeah.
You're going to get hungry.
So we have 2 minutes left in the segment. And so this is what we talked about. You talked about how you're diving into the mind and how to change all these things. People that are listening today, and I'm hoping that you're going, you know what? I could consider doing something like this. It sounds simple enough. Let's talk a little bit about batch cooking and preparing all these things so that we can set ourselves up for success.
Great. So you and I we may even have an entire show on that. I'm not sure. So if your listeners are interested in going back and taking that walk and listening to some of the prior shows, but basically batch cooking is an idea of shopping or gathering your supplies maybe twice a week. I usually do a Sunday and a Wednesday, but sometimes things get in the way. I have a board meeting on a Wednesday night. It turns to Thursday. No big deal. So you just cook, depending on how many people are in your home, you cook, like you double what you would normally make, and then you try to have meals ready for when you come home from work, home from your big day, home from the baseball field, home from your Pilates class. So your food is ready, and also for work or for school, you can take it with you. There's so many students that are listening to your program, Lillian. I've been talking to a couple of them, and for young people to get this kind of information early on,
oh boy,
and not have to develop or not have to step away from anything in the future, to actually just be able to nip any little concern in the bud and take this food with them to college or high school and show their friends and teach their friends that it's food, movement, sleep, and stress control. And those are the 4 things for a happy life. And good friends like you.
Yes, absolutely. And friends that will encourage you to be at a higher level of health excellence as well, not bring you down. But thank you so much, Karina. We're going to continue our conversations for a little bit after the show. I appreciate you always. And thank you for these wonderful recipes.
Thank you, Lily. Always a pleasure to be with you. Thanks for having me.
To you, my listening friend, this is Lillian McDermott wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day.
Best day ever.
Yay. Good job. It's amazing what we do to ourselves. We think that eating something fast, like the example I gave about the mashed potatoes, those are not, they're potatoes in a box. We think, okay, we don't need refrigeration. But if you just take a potato and boil it.
Yes.
Just boil it with the skin, then take the skin off and then just mash it.
Yes.
And you can add the nutritional yeast, and you can add if that's what you want. Or you could take a sweet potato and mash it and
Yes.
use the salt, the pepper, the garlic, or you could just add cinnamon and coconut, shredded coconut that's unsweetened, and maybe even some pecans. And it just tastes so good.
Last night for dinner, I had these adorable little red potatoes in a bag, and I washed them and steamed them in a pot for about 20 minutes. They cooled down, and I had that for dinner.
Yeah. Did you add anything else? I mean, what did you add with the potatoes?
A little, I made a little sprinkle of cumin, nutritional yeast, and chili powder. And that worked for me.
Very good.
But there were a few that I had that were just delicious, plain by themselves. So it's funny how the more whole food, plant-based you eat, the more you come to actually appreciate the individual plain flavors of each food.
Yeah. Yeah. Something as simple as that. Sometimes you just want to have a starch.
Sometimes I just want to eat a carrot.
Yeah.
They're giant these days, right? Like, have you seen like the carrots are like, they're super long and sometimes they're rainbow and they're beautiful.
Yeah.
And I'll take one and wash it and I'll give one to the dog. And the two of us are just going to eat a carrot.
I remember our Max. Max used to love anytime he heard me chop. He was just sitting there. And one day, accidentally, a carrot fell on the ground and he devoured it.
Yes.
And I used to have little treats for him. I used to buy little treats for him. And when I saw how much joy he got out of eating that carrot,
yes,
it was a changer. Now, then I started just like giving him little things like, like celery, or there were certain things that he just didn't like, but he would love it. When I started chopping and doing, he would just sit there. And then when I was doing the juicing, he would eat the pulp. He would love the pulp.
Wonderful.
He would love the pulp. I would mix it with his dog food or whatever, and I would give him some rice with some pulp and some, as he got a little older, and I would make his own, rice with some chicken broth or whatever. But I'm telling you, that was such a treat. And it started when it fell to the ground.
Isn't that amazing? Best things happen as mistakes, right? But it wasn't.
Never. No, there's no mistakes. It's always opportunity to growth, right?
Absolutely. And we're all a lab, and there you were in your own kitchen lab, and it hit the floor, and Max loved it.
Max.
Well, we'll have to talk about, I'm interested in learning about cooking for dogs. So I've been doing some myself.
Have you?
And getting more plants into them as my guy turns 10 in July. And he eats actually broccoli, cauliflower, green beans, peas, and carrots. And he loves them. So I'm trying to see, I'm working with grains with him. So I'm reducing the amount of animal protein that he's getting. And he seems to be thriving, and it's keeping his weight normalized.
What kind of dog is he?
He's a big, goofy, very smart golden doodle.
Golden doodle.
Yes.
My daughter has a golden doodle, and it is not true. They are not hyperallergenic.
No, they are not.
They shed all over the place.
Okay, so they shed and they don't. Mine doesn't, but my middle son has a hard time because they're not hypoallergenic. They're not.
Yeah.
They're lower dander. And in our case, there's no shedding, but there's a lot of brushing. There's always a trade-off.
Oh my gosh. I grew up with poodles, and Max was a little Maltese.
Oh.
My little 5-pound Max, that was his name. 5-pound Max. Because as I was looking for 5-pound Max, I kept saying, I
want a dog, 5-pound Max.
Max, that's it.
5-pound Max.
Yes.
I love that.
So what happened was, we were surprising the kids, and we had from A to Z, we had picked out some names, Z for Zeke and A for, whatever. We had it, and we were going to have the kids pick and then cut it up and then put one name. But as I was finding Max, because I grew up with poodles, which were, for
Mm.
me, I could handle poodles, but I wanted a Maltese,
Yeah.
that was a descendant, a straight descendant from the poodle.
Oh,
And every time I was calling a breeder, I'd say, I don't want a dog bigger than 5 pounds, 5 pound max. So when we used to watch the, what's that? The Grinch, and that
oh, the
dog
Greek.
was
Okay,
Max too.
okay. That was
Remember
Max.
Max?
That's right. That's right.
Yes. So after calling in so many times, 5 pound Max, 5 pound Max, that was his name. So his name is Maximus. His name was Maximus, and he lived 12 years. But yeah, we have to, now that we're talking a little bit about dogs, we have to be very careful, because Max would go out there after several hours of the lawn, the pesticides, and all of that. And I think he suffered a stroke from being out there when he wasn't supposed to be,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And it was so painful to see such a healthy little puppy at the age of 12 leave us too soon.
It's awful. And
Yeah.
it's very difficult because I understand people's frustrations with their lawn and lawn maintenance and the lack of organic products or the expense of them. But I did set expectations here in my house about when we got the dog that it was not going to be treated.
Well, how do you treat your yard? I mean, you guys work on the farm. What is
Yes. So,
Dr. Weiss? So, what can we do for our lawns to keep the ticks and the fleas? Because that's what was happening with Max.
yeah.
Max was so little, and he'd come back and he was just like covered from head to toe,
Yes.
like weeds and
I know. I know. So
ticks
that's such
and
a good
fleas.
question, and it's so pertinent right now. So on the farm, of course, no fungicides, pesticides, herbicides of any kind. And the grass grows and it gets mowed. So at our homes, I kind of do the same thing. You sort of realize that the lawns we know are a monoculture, but a true lawn is really a polyculture. So the lawn is always fighting you to get back to have that little crabgrass or that strange little purple vine that I saw this morning, or this interesting little other thing. It's fighting me. So I just let it be. So we just mow to 3 or 4 inches and then let the clippings sit back on it. And then I've moved as I've replaced plantings, I'll move them a little bit away from the house. And then if I see that it's going to be a big tick year, and it looked like it was going to be the past couple of weeks, I'll do a garlic bath. I know it sounds absolutely insane.
Tasty.
Yeah. White vinegar in the big jug, blended garlic in there, and then again a Vitamix comes in handy, and I'll spray down all the shrubs that the dog is going in and out of.
And
So
that gets rid of ticks?
yeah. Well, it's a tick. Yeah, it stops them from being happy, so they'll go somewhere else. Because
Yeah. I
it's a
wonder
it's
if,
a repellent. So probably you could do. Oh my gosh, you could probably do turmeric, garlic. I wonder if you could do garlic powder.
well, I would say that it not only works for vampires, but apparently it works for ticks too. So to keep them out, not kill them, but it keeps them going somewhere
It
else.
makes them want, yes, it makes them want to go somewhere that is more favorable. So that's the help. And then I've seen people use a variety of different tick prevention methods with their dogs, and
Yeah.
it's a tough decision.
Wow.
So
Well, I
yeah.
think that's what took Max a little earlier than, because we thought we'd have him another couple of years, because
Yeah.
he was still really, really healthy. But
Oh,
then all of a sudden, and I attribute it to the food, although we had organic and all of that, but it's not what they're used to.
it's not
And
what they
so I never gave him table food, but when he'd get sick, the veterinarian would tell me, give him broth, give him rice, give him, and that's what I would end up giving him. But
Mm,
the pesticides in the yard, I never even thought that they would
of
affect
course.
him.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so for those of you who are interested in learning more about maybe getting your yard safe for your pets and your children, and for you to walk barefoot in the grass, which is so nice to be able to do.
Yes.
Maybe we can do a show on that in the future. I don't know if you know somebody that can add to that conversation. But Karina, it's always so much fun to have you on the
And it
show.
goes so fast,
I
Lily.
know it does. It really does. And I want to encourage you to get your stuff done. Oh, you said you're going to have a class in June. So let's talk about June now that we're off the air. Tell us about your class that you're doing, and can we watch it?
So my class is actually this coming Saturday.
That's right. June is when you take your exam.
Right. I take my exam in June. So my class is Saturday the 5th. It's called Cooking Without Oil. We're making oven-baked fajitas. So we're going to oven roast without oil. We're going to water saute some onions and peppers without oil. And then I'm not sure if I'm making a banana ice cream or if I'm making these brownies that I've hit upon.
I'm gonna be there.
Oh my gosh, I should probably like make them, freeze them, and send them to you.
I would love that.
Send you this cut glove
for Robert, who is getting all his. So you said that you have a brand that you like for yogurt. Which is the brand you like?
Kite Hill. Kite, Kite, like when you fly a kite. Hill, Hill. I'm a little bit obsessed with it. And by obsessed with it, I don't eat a lot of it. And I'm only eating it a couple of times a week because I think there's something in it that upsets my stomach just a little bit. Like my body knows it's not a whole food. So I'm going to work on I'm trying really hard not to buy an Instant Pot because I feel like I have so many gadgets. But I want to learn to make my own almond milk yogurt. It can't be that hard. Okay,
so have you looked at the ingredients for this yogurt? Because I'm thinking that instead of yogurt, you can just use the cannellini bean.
Do
the cannellini bean and keep Dr. Joel Furman last time, he told me, he goes, you want to keep the water from the bean. And then you can use it to blend it and create that creamy yogurt kind of feel.
Yes.
I would add the cucumber into that and some garlic into that.
Perfect.
Perhaps maybe
even better.
Yeah.
That brings us to an even higher level of nutritional vibrancy.
But that's what I would do, because we are taking vegan foods and foods that sound healthy, like yogurt, because we were told that we needed to have yogurt and that's how we get our protein and that's how we whatever, which is a bunch of bunk. And then we have that mentality that if we don't have any flavors or we do it with coconut, but it's mass produced, there's got to be something in there
that's right.
Cut corners. So why not just try a cannellini straight in its own juice?
It's a great idea.
Low salt. I'm going to try that.
Do it.
Do it. Did
it sound like do it?
Do it. But
yes, do it and report back.
I will, because that is how we create meals in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Once you start feeling comfortable, you start thinking, well, you know what, that would go great. I am looking forward to making your falafel. I am looking forward to making your falafel and
I'm going to make the change. I'm going to make the change to these handouts. Take the arrowroot powder out because that actually I must have used an old copy. So I'll swap out and explain how to do a flax egg.
Yeah, that's why I didn't know what an arrowroot. Yeah, that would be great. That would be great because I have never worked with arrowroot, so I wanted to know what the origin was. Yeah. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and end the recording. I want to thank you again, Karina, for, I love how open you are about trying new things and kind of fixing and changing and creating some wonderful things. Maybe next time we can create, breakfast, lunch, dinner. I don't know what we can do, but we'll come up with something special that Karina can teach us how to do that's simple. Maybe some of these comfort foods like the falafel. I mean, to be able to have it without oils, or maybe we can do the show on cooking without oils.
We could do cooking without oils, and then maybe we'll do how to prepare yourself for a big mind change. like
Mm.
just some simple things that people can do.
Got it down.
Sometimes it's just a matter of gathering enough pros. Like, think of all the different pros, thinking like pros and cons, pros that you mentioned today. Stepping away from pain, stepping away from an
Yes.
acidy stomach, feeling light, feeling well rested.
Okay.
So just by people can elicit change by making a really long list of the things that would be favorable
Yeah. Yeah.
and posting it, reading it
Absolutely.
3 times a day.
I think so too. I
Yeah,
think so too. I will post these recipes on my blog on
great.
Sunday. So
Okay,
that's what I did last time. I took your recipes and I uploaded it
excellent.
into the blog so that people that are subscribers will get these recipes on Sunday. So send me the new version of it, and
Oh,
then I
and
will.
I'll add the cashew cheese sauce.
Yes. Oh, yes. The cashew cheese sauce. I'm going to
Okay.
make some of that. I'm going to make it
We're
too.
gonna call that Lillian's cashew cheese sauce.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
honestly, this is when I created this recipe in the kitchen, you arrived.
Yes, I did.
I was cooking it and you walked in. So I think we definitely need to name it.
Yes, it was so good. And it still is. And I haven't made it. I haven't made it. So I'm committed to making it.
I'm going to make it
And
today.
I'm going to try it with a cannellini too, because
Oh, yes. It's much lighter. It's lighter
would
with the
be,
cannellini.
yeah,
And
because I don't have enough soaked nuts.
yes. And the cashews are good, but for some people, not you necessarily, but for some people, if they're trying to step away from a few extra pounds, the cashew can slow that a little bit if they're eating a lot of it, but not the beans. The beans can be just as hearty and even more filling.
They're
So,
the perfect food. They're the perfect
yeah,
food. They have the fiber, they're the starch, and the protein.
yes,
Who,
perfect.
who could ask for anything more?
And
Okay.
I like northern beans too. Sometimes
Northern beans.
the cannellini can get a little bit waxy when you blend it, but the northern bean is mild
Yeah.
and
And it's tinier, isn't it?
tiny.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. So
yeah.
we got it. We got it. We're going to start creating in the kitchen. I want to
Yeah.
encourage you to create as well as we grow. Thank you, Karina LaMalfa.
Thank you,
Until next
Lillian.
time, and to you, my viewers, I am looking forward to our next conversation.